You're listening to the Youth Critic Podcast on KHZ Network. Find us on Facebook at DecibelUNG Radio and find us on Twitter at DecibelUNG. If you like this episode, please leave a like and comment on our iTunes page at KHZ Network. And now for the podcast.
Let me ask you something. What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Look, I need to know what I stand to win.
Everything. Just call it friendo.
Willin, what's in the satchel?
It's full of money.
He's just a guy who happened to find that money.
I got a bad feeling, Llewellyn.
It's a mess, ain't it, Sheriff?
If it ain't, it'll do till the mess gets here.
I'm looking for Llewellyn Moss.
You go up to his trailer?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Youth Critic Retrospective. I am your host, Cale Smith. Joining me today is Brandon Cooley.
Hey, everyone.
And for the season finale of the 5-part mini-series covering the 2008 Oscars, we are finally here to talk about the Oscar winner of 2008. And that is none other than No Country for Old Men. Yep.
The weirdest movie to ever win Best Picture. The most surprising, I would say.
You're thinking it's the weirdest?
Maybe in terms of what they usually vote for, maybe the weirdest. Not the. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing, a very good thing that it won. But because I would say that it's weird that Crash won, but for a different reason. This is the most unlikely movie to win Best Picture. Maybe is the best way to put it.
I would say Crash was the most unlikely, but it still won because that whole year it was seemingly going to be a Brokeback Mountain's year. The problem, but somehow, some way, Crash won. I think it was the original screenplay and Best Picture. But I meant given what the movie's about. I wouldn't be surprised if Crash winning Best Picture, just because it's about, the themes of racism and that kind of screenplay, It's a movie with simple themes as compared to like something like this. It's more surprising this would win Best Picture. I'd more likely expect to see it win like the Palme d'Or, This is the kind of movie that wins like film festivals, not really the Oscars. Yeah.
But
yeah, it's kind of odd because we were talking about this last week as well with There Will Be Blood, and that film also is a kind of movie that normally would not be cherry picked for Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, the films that would be cherry picked are movies like Michael Clayton and Atonement of the other movies that were nominated. Those were the ones that we cherry picked. Even a movie like Juno would have been normally I honestly think if Knocked Up came out in December, it would have probably taken Juno's place.
Yeah.
That's really what I think, and that's not a dig on either film. It's just I think both movies are doing the same thing. They're just doing it in different styles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting looking back at No Country for Old Men because it's a movie that is slow. It's meditative, and it ends in the least, I don't want to say least compelling way, but it ends in a way that just it disappoints everyone, or it doesn't leave you satisfied.
Not me.
Well, it doesn't leave you with a happy ending, and it leaves you on an ambiguous note because you have no idea what happened to the wife. and Anton Sugar was not the person that killed Lewin. It was just a gang. It was just a gang that was also following him. That was so it was a completely different group of people that we have not been following, chasing that killed Lewin. And on top of that, Tommy Lee Jones's character is really it really is more of his story anyway, even though the protagonist, the person we are rooting for to survive, is Josh Brolin, or we're relating to is Josh Brolin's character. So it just
I've seen this several times, and actually when you start watching it for the second or third time, you start noticing really interesting things. Like, for example, it really is no protagonist in this movie. You could say there's three, really. Because,
if people were following.
Yeah, there's people we're following, but normally you would say that Josh Brolin is the protagonist because he's what he does is like prompts the whole plot. Him finding the money. That's a classic MacGuffin. He goes on the run. That's normal for movies to, it's not that surprising for a movie to have that kind of plot. So you think he's the protagonist, but he does get killed off before, really at the start of the third act, or right in the middle of the third act, if I remember right. I can't remember the exact runtime, but
it's the last 20 or 30 minutes of the movie. Yeah,
so there's still time before he's killed off soon enough to the point where the movie keeps going. And so you think, well, Tommy Lee Jones must be, but he's a passive protagonist. He doesn't really interact with he has no effect on the actual events of the movie in a lot of ways.
He's the observer of the environment.
Yeah, he's the observer, kind of like us. And of course, Sugar is the antagonist. And then you even start noticing what's really interesting is that these three main characters never come face to face in the same frame. They never even see each other. Actually, the only very brief glimpses of each other when in the chase scenes between Brolin and Javier Bardem.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fascinating because I've never seen a movie that has three main characters essentially that never even talk to each other on screen.
Yep, they never.
That's unheard of. That's
well, technically, Sugar and Lewin, they talk to each other on a phone, but they never share the screen.
Yeah, they never just are in the same frame. Though it's a chase movie where it's of course they talk to each other.
Cat and mouse movie.
Yeah. Which I'm not sure if that was intentional or just the way the screenplay was written based on the book, but yeah. Have you read any of the book before?
I have not read a Cormac McCarthy book.
I've started reading The Road and No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy. I can't get into his writing style personally, which I know people really like him, but I read the first 10 pages of No Country for Old Men once. It didn't draw me in. I'm really surprised they picked this to be adapted because the book isn't that interesting from what I read. It's this is one of the best adaptations I've ever read of a book before because the Coen brothers did something really interesting with it.
They did, and they put their own flavor into it, which is, if anyone watches Fargo or Miller's Crossing, and I would even go and dare say Blood Simple.
Yeah.
You feel their flavor in that. You feel like their flavor being, shot in there, and you just see it permeate all throughout the film. You see it through the dialogue. You see it through how the characters act. It's all it feels like a Coen Brothers film that just so happens to have the Cormac McCarthy oppression, realistic style.
Yeah, I would compare this more to Blood Simple than Fargo, because Fargo isn't a comedy, but it has it's I would compare Peter Stormare's character in Fargo is he's funny the way he behaves. He's a killer like Javier Bardem in this one, but the way that Peter Stormare says his lines and the way he reacts to what's going on, you kind of have to laugh at.
Right.
The banter between him and Steve Buscemi is just great. In this one, it's mostly a drama with some comedic elements and kind of sprinkled in here and there. It's I like the mother or the grandmother. I'm not sure if it's the mother grandmother of
Kelly
McDonald's character.
Mm-hmm.
It's the mom. Okay, I like her character. There's a line she says in the movie where talking about El Paso, and she's like, I don't know. She's like, I don't know anybody from El Paso. I've never been to El Paso. It's just going on and on, complaining about having to leave. It's perfect. Like, because Coen Brothers can write that kind of dialogue, you know.
It is. They understand how people, particularly in the Midwest, talk. And I think that's always been important in their movies, is because it adds, I don't want to say, I guess it's okay to say it adds a sense of realism to the world to their kind of romanticized world they're building.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's one of the things I've always admired about the Coens, is that they create this kind of hyperbolic world, and for their characters to kind of interact in, and we just see how those interactions build a story and build them as characters. And that's what I've always been attracted to whenever I see a Coen Brothers movie, even if it's not great. Like I'm still one of like 10 people in the world that don't like Inside Llewyn Davis. Like I'm still, and I
never seen that one. So
yeah, and I'm still on the fence about Burn After Reading. So
I like Burn After Reading.
I don't know. It's just like
it's not in their top 5, but it's good though.
It's kind of like Inherent Vice, where it's just, I mean, it's more sensical than Inherent Vice, but but there's a lot of random things that happen in Burn After Reading that are just like, it could have been cut out of the movie.
Yeah.
Like
I thought it was funny, you know, and I mean, they're good comedy at the end of the day, so I like that.
Sure.
It's not as good as the other movies by far, though. It's on the. I've seen maybe 10 by them, and it's probably on the lesser. It's definitely in the lesser 5. You know.
So while we're on this, what are your top 5 favorite Coen Brothers movies?
Number 1 would be between this and Fargo. That's one of the big movie questions. Like, you know, what's the best movie of 2007? You know, between this or There'll Be Blood, and what's, you know, the best Coen Brothers movie. I'd say probably this one, only because I've seen this one more times than Fargo. But maybe Fargo. I don't know. I have to watch it again and see. Third place would be, let me think, probably Big Lebowski for its rewatchability. It's a pretty good movie. And that's another very random movie that's also just very funny. The screenplay is, you could say it's flawed, but I think it's all great. Number 4, probably Barton Fink. And then, I haven't seen that in a while, actually. I need to watch that again. And then, actually, number 4 would be Blood Simple, and then number 5 would be Barton Fink. Yeah. That's probably my top 5.
I have not seen every Coen Brothers movie, but I have enough to make a top 5. So Fargo is number 1, then The Big Lebowski, and then this movie, and number 4, I just had it. Raising Arizona is number 4.
Yeah.
That movie is fantastic, and it's not just a wacky comedy with, you know, 2 great character actors playing a mom and a dad. It's actually, you know, there's something more to it, and I think that's the movie where the Coens were trying to find their way into how to do commentary or social commentary into their movies.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just really dig Raising Arizona. It's a great film. And then number 5, I'm trying to. It's either Oh Brother Where Art Thou or True Grit. Because I love True Grit, and I love them.
Yeah, True Grit wouldn't be my top 5. It's good, but I wasn't like. I remember seeing that and expecting more because I've just watched all these great Coen Brothers movies. Maybe that was the reason why I didn't like it as much. I'm not interested in something about that. The ending didn't really interest me. I don't know, something about True Grit didn't really catch my interest when I first saw it. I may have to watch it again, but it was good though. Yeah.
It's a good remake. It's one of the. I'll say this. It's one of the better remakes.
Well, if you remake a John Wayne movie, it's immediately gonna be better because I mean,
come on.
He's the worst actor in American film. When I was watching we were at I was at work yesterday in the break room. They had a John Wayne movie on.
Bravo?
He's just, well, I mean, he's made 50 movies, so I'm not sure which one it was. I've only seen a few, but he is just awful, though. I mean, awful as a person and awful as an actor. He is just terrible. It's like he's just it's almost like he's playing the person that would imitate him. Like, in the same way that De Niro impersonators impersonate De Niro. If De Niro started acting like them, that's what John Wayne is. Like, it's just the weirdest thing that people like him so much. Like The Searchers is just terrible. People love it, but in terms of westerns, like I don't know what they're seeing in that movie, but I don't know. That's a tangent, but
Have you ever seen Rio Bravo?
No, I haven't. No.
That's probably my favorite John Wayne movie.
Well, but have you seen The Searchers? Like,
no, and
that's an extremely highly rated movie, and I watched it, and it's like, what is this? Like, it's like, it's I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I would say they're of their time. The John Wayne and John Ford films, I would say they're of their time. I think the reason why they probably do or do not hold up as well as they do is because of just the tech and the techniques they had working for them at the time.
Sure, but at the same time, though, John Ford made The Grapes of Wrath, which is a fantastic movie for 1940. And I know he can direct drama. I know he can direct, that's a movie with a lot of, empathy and characters with, well developed. It's a great book too, from what I've heard. So I know they were capable of more back then. And I think that those westerns live on just because they're so famous and people saw them so much. I don't think they really have anything to offer in terms of great filmmaking. But
careful what you say, Brandon.
Hey, I'll debate that any time of day. Like, same thing with Gone with the Wind. I want to, technically next year will be the 80th anniversary of Gone with the Wind. I would love to. I might do a video of that because that's another movie that I was completely blown away by how bad it was when I saw it. But and another tangent for another day. But yeah,
gotta read that 1,000-page book.
Yeah, well, no, won't be happening.
Oh my God! So, would you say No Country for Old Men is a western?
No, I would not, because because a lot of people they like to do this thing where they take modern movies. Well, technically it's not modern because it's 1980, I think, but they take these movies and they say it's like a western. But I consider a western to take place between like the Civil War and 1910, roughly. It has horses, it has cowboys or some bounty hunters, outlaws. The people take small towns. People there's a has a different culture, obviously, because it takes place in that era. Having a movie that takes place in Texas about a drug deal gone wrong, it technically isn't a western. They're taking different elements of a western, which is awesome. But
would neo-western fit better then? Maybe,
if that's a thing. I mean, because there's a lot of movies people call that. Like they called Logan a western.
Well, it's
right. There's a lot of movies they call that. They call it western.
Hell or High Water is considered. I think that one's more considered neo-western.
Yeah. I mean, it's a heist movie, but yeah.
I
guess it's fine if people say that, but I don't think it makes a movie better it depends on the kind of movie, because I didn't like Hell or High Water very much. I thought it was okay, but it's no, it was fine. It was one of those things with the hype. I kind of was hyped for it, and I saw it and didn't really think it was all that great, but it was fine. But
dude, Tyler Sheridan's pretty popular for our generation of screenwriters. He's been his scripts for Sicario, Hell or High Water, and what was that recent one? Wind River. Those are very popular with us.
Yeah. Oh, I loved the script for Sicario. I didn't like the script for Hell or High Water. That's the part I didn't like about it, actually.
Okay.
All of it, yeah. So another conversation for another day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll talk. I think we'll talk more about Taylor Sheridan on the show when Sicario 2 comes out, or Soldado.
Oh, yeah.
So, do we have any more thoughts on the movie No Country for Old Men? Because it's a great film, and I highly recommend it. And I think it deserved it, even though There Will Be Blood is the more epic, more well-crafted film, in my opinion. But I think that the win for Best Picture was mostly deserved.
Yeah. This is my favorite of the year. This is probably my top 50 movies of all time. I saw this when I was 13 or 14. So when I first saw it, I saw it most as a thriller. But when you keep watching it, though, you notice things that you didn't notice before, especially when you're younger, like the fact that he is a Vietnam War veteran. So, and that alone makes his motivations. It makes everything kind of makes sense when you think in that context, because this is a guy who feels like, he's working class, feels like he's been kind of cheated out on the way that a lot of Vietnam War veterans probably felt at the time,
right?
Depending on their views of the war. So him taking the money and running, it makes sense, and the belief he thinks that he can get away with it and actually survive. And someone with that, I mean, it makes sense when you think about the context of when it takes place. You just kind of notice different things about the movie each time you watch it, small details that you didn't notice before. I think of something. Yeah, like for example, the scene in the hotel when he shoots through the door and jumps out the window. If you turn up the volume really high, the sound design is so well done, you can actually hear the light bulb being taken out, the small squeak of the light bulb when Sugar takes it and turns off the lights. Stuff like that's great. It's great thriller.
It is. It's a really good cat and mouse thriller. Javier Bardem giving an excellent performance as Anton Chigurh, and it's just really good movie, really well done. So before we go, we have to.
Actually, before we go to that part, can I go on my my theory about No Country for Old Men and Terminator? My insane theory that I've been talking about for years. Okay, so my theory.
Wait, I have not heard this theory, so go.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Oh, okay, I thought I told you before. Okay, so the theory is that No Country for Old Men is the first Terminator movie because Anton Chigurh acts like a Terminator, like the way that Arnold Schwarzenegger acts in the first Terminator, right? So Terminator was made in 1984, so it's assumed it takes place in 84. This is made in 1980, so maybe the money that was being stolen here during the drug deal was the money used to invest in the company. What's the company's name? Terminator.
Skynet.
Skynet. Yes, it was the money used to invest in Skynet, and it was the machine sent back Anton Chigurh to make sure the money was stolen and invested in the company to create the Terminators. That's the first. Maybe that's it all connects.
That is
I'm joking. I'm not really serious, but he acts like a Terminator in my defense. It's a joke, but yeah.
Oh boy, we would.
I'm gonna make a YouTube video. I'm gonna do a YouTube video of that someday, and it'll be fun. But
that's pretty good. But again, we're messing up the paradox here, or we're complicating the paradox here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So
it'll be a good clickbait video.
It will be, much like those other film theorist videos.
Pretty much, yeah.
So before we, check out, I think we usually do this at the beginning of every show, but we kind of just went into the movie here. But we missed the what it was nominated for and what it actually won for. We did mention it won Best Picture, but it also won Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay. Hang on just a second. Let me pull that back up. And
supporting actor.
Supporting actor. And then, those are the 4 wins. And then it was nominated for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
cinematography
8,
and editing.
8.
I think.
Yep, 8 other award. It was nominated for 4 other awards. It was nominated for Best Cinematography, Roger Deakins. Obviously, he was competing himself with The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward of Robert Ford.
Yeah.
And still lost to Robert Elswit. And then, of course, the Coens got an editing nomination, and then it got a nomination in sound mixing and sound editing. Do you think it should have won any of those technical awards?
Best editing, I would say probably it should have won. As good as the Born Ultimatum is in terms of editing, it's hard to say because the editing in Born Ultimatum is impressive because of the action, the way that how fast paced it is. But the editing in No Country for Old Men, the pacing is what matters in that movie, and the pacing is very well done because usually slow paced movies like that drag on, But the way they make it slow paced, but then catch up and speed up when the action starts to happen is really impressive. The way they go back and forth kind of between the two. But yeah.
It's tough because I'm looking at the best sound, best editing, and they're all, I'm looking at these movies and I'm like, they all deserve it. Like they all deserve the Oscar. Because if you individually watch any of these movies that were nominated for best sound, best editing, best cinematography, you just understand any of these movies just to hear the sound or analyze the cinematography or analyze the editing choices for any of these movies. It works. Like they all work in unison to the film. They all service the film.
Yeah.
To the best of their ability. So it's always, so it is tough. Like it's always tough to be like, what should have won? Like I technical awards are always tough because I always feel like that whenever we make a top 5 of these, it's like we just hand the Oscar to all 5 of these films because they're all just fantastic. Yeah,
definitely. But in terms of most years, and compared to most years, it's actually a pretty good year for giving the award to something that deserves it, because a lot of movies that get the best cinematography and best editing award don't deserve it at all whatsoever. The movies that have won best editing in the past usually don't have good editing at all, in my opinion. Or it's fine editing, but it's just not really like impressive in any way. They usually should give it to the best picture winner. Like Crash won best editing, which I would argue has bad editing, from what I remember of it. As good as Argo was, I didn't think the editing was really that great. It was fine, but what else? There's a lot of movies that have won, and same thing with cinematography. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but
I can.
Gravity Gravity and Avatar won best cinematography, and was there any? Well, yeah, and Life of Pi. There was some at Life of Pi maybe deserved it a bit more, but in Avatar and Gravity, it's all CGI, so I was really surprised that won cinematography, but personally, but
I don't want to. All of it's hard work. Like all the work that went into those movies, like there was hard work. There was effort to make those beautiful images. But you're right, it was all shot on a computer, or it was all like done in, or most of it, or I guess I'm trying to say it all heavily relied on a computer. And we know, you can make something really beautiful anyway on a computer anyway. But then again, Roger Deakins uses the digital intermediate color correction a lot, almost all on his film, on all of his movies since Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and he uses it to make his images just more perfect. So it's always tough, but I kind of agree that Roger Deakins should have won a long time ago. And I think
for Sicario, Sicario was the one he should have won for, I think, because what won in 2015? I should know this.
That was Sicario.
Yeah, he should have won for that one. What actually won in 2015? It was the what was it? It was Revenant.
That's right.
It was a Revenant, which is great, but we've seen continuous takes before, and it's all great, but
don't doubt Emmanuel Lubezki.
Yeah, he's good, but well, he should have won for Gravity for sure, but he should have definitely won for Children of Men. That's his best movie, best work. He deserved it for Birdman, but yeah, Revenant, it's good, but Scar should have gotten it.
Yeah, I would say he probably should have won for Skyfall, mostly because that was his first digital film, and that was during a time when digital was still like in experimental mode. Like yeah, digital cinematography had already been nominated before in Slumdog Millionaire, but the thing about Deakins though is that the way he photographed Skyfall and the way he uses digital technology, it completely elevates the movie in a way that no one thought digital cameras could at the time.
Yeah, my pick for winning best cinematography that year was Django Unchained. Yeah,
Well,
Skyfall was good. I mean,
well, if we talk about Robert Richardson's DP work, he might as well just win for everything.
pretty much, yeah. Yeah, he's my favorite cinematographer.
We might as well just get a bunch of statues and just throw it at him.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah, I would actually say Spectre has better cinematography than Skyfall if I was comparing James Bond movies, but
It's really good. I'm not saying I wouldn't say anything bad about von Hoytema's DP work, but I think there's just something really. I think Deakins just did something really special with Skyfall.
yeah, it's actually people love Skyfall the most. It's actually my third favorite James Bond movie out of the Daniel Craig ones. Casino Royale and Spectre take the top two spots, but
You with your hot takes.
what's that?
You with your that's. Do you know what a hot take is?
I think I do. What do you mean by hot take though? In this case,
You're just bringing up unpopular opinion.
Yeah. I like doing that because we can't really go on a debate about it. But yeah, I like pulling up. People like Spectre though. I don't think it's really hated by the. It's not hated in the same way Quantum of Solace is.
It's very disappointing compared to Skyfall and what Skyfall was like building up.
I would say Quantum of Solace is disappointing compared to what the others are like. Spectre is still pretty good. My problem with Skyfall is that they're trying to give James Bond like a really emotional past of like having like living in a foster home, and it's like it's James Bond. I don't think we need to carve in too deep. I think Casino Royale kind of established the reason why he is the way he is. But yeah, I don't know. That's just me.
Well, he is. I want to agree, but the problem is, what else do you do with Bond? That's the problem. Yeah. That's the Like, there's only so many different ways you can play Bond before it gets tired out. And for me, it's like I thought Skyfall was like the new way to do it. With Craig and doing basically a whole trilogy of what was going to 2 more movies that were going to follow Skyfall, but I don't know. But to me, Spectre just, for what it's worth, and it just for me, Spectre is one of those movies where it's not a bad movie, but it needed another hand in the editing room or in the writer's room. Like, it just needed it needed more time to work on it, because it just feels like a first draft.
To connect this with No Country for Old Men and wrap it around, Javier Bardem is the best part of Skyfall, and he's the best Bond villain.
I'll agree to that.
Because he's just a great actor. He just improves with everything he's in. But that's the only part of Skyfall I was interested in actually. Like, not to talk about it too much, but like I wasn't interested in any of the things that were happening outside. Like the whole plot with him hacking into it. The problem with Skyfall is that it follows the same plot that the Joker and I guess technically Star Trek Into Darkness what came afterward, but that thing where the villain's captured and because he wants to be and he gets out, and it's like, we've seen that before. And
the Dark Knight plot device.
Yeah, that's basically, they've been copying that a a lot since then.
It's a good
The Avengers did it too.
It's a good plot device.
It's getting kind of overdone. I don't know. It's I wasn't really interested in what was happening in Skyfall, except for his performance and a few action scenes.
Yeah.
But
So, got anything else?
I think that's it. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I agree. It's a worth watching. And to be honest, all of these, I was actually surprised how many of these were all worth watching. I mean, look, the Oscars, I'll always say this, they don't always pick the best films, and there's always movies they could have rotated in and out of, their top 5, or I guess now top 9. However, occasionally they make mistakes, and occasionally they make mistakes like Crash or
Slumdog Millionaire.
No, that's not a mistake.
That's the worst one.
Extremely loud and incredibly close. Whatever
Sure.
that one is. They make mistakes, but or the
Shape of Water.
No,
which we will find out. We will find out here in a few days. Yeah, we got to do a. Yeah, do you want to do a 3 Billboards versus Shape of Water thing, or it's too soon or not enough time? I guess. Actually, what we should do afterwards, after one of them wins, to see. I'll be more motivated to do it then.
I mean, I love The Shape of Water. You guys know it was I chose that as my number 1 of the year. But the thing is about 3 Billboards is it's a good movie. It's just it hasn't stuck with me in the sense. I think there's something about those other 8 movies that have stuck with me very well.
I want 3 Billboards to win because it'll be like No Country for Old Men. It'll be the most unlikely movie to win Best Picture because it's so different from what's usually nominated.
Well,
it's my second favorite of the year, second to Logan. I love 3 Billboards. The characters are so well written in it that I think that's why it was nominated. And I hope that let's not get into the debate now, but yeah, I hope it wins. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, but
I hope the Post wins.
Yeah, that's the good one too.
I was joking, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I really liked. It's not a bad list. There's not a movie on that list this year that I was like, why did you pick that one, Oscars?
Yeah,
they were all really good.
Well, we got to remember the English Patient effect, where 96 we all remember Fargo, and it's all everybody loves it, but no one remembers English Patient. I challenge one person to actually tell me the plot of English Patient today.
I've never seen it.
Well, if you watched it, it would be like never having seen it, because I've seen it before, and it's just really forgettable. It's not even terrible. It's just so forgettable that it's just amazing that people praised it at the time.
So it's exactly like the Seinfeld joke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to mention that. There's a whole Seinfeld episode of her saying, "What are you guys thinking? It's not that good." It's really funny. Elaine. One of my favorite episodes.
That's one of mine too, because it's just it is a great running gag that Elaine is wanting to see this one goofy movie, and then her boss, her boyfriend, all are and everyone she takes the English every time she goes to see the English Patient, everyone's just like, this is the best damn movie ever. And yeah, it's just.
Well, the other great episode is the Schindler's List episode where Jerry and his girlfriend make out during the whole episode, and Newman tries to tell his parents about that. It's so. You pretty much are going to hell if you make out during Schindler's List. That's pretty much guaranteed. But it is so funny, just the way they make fun of these. In that case, it's a great movie. But yeah, they take their comedy in interesting directions for sure.
I definitely, and the other favorite Seinfeld, and this will be one of our final notes. I love the Chinese restaurant episode. That is funny, relatable. It's a little dated because some of those problems can now be solved by cell phones.
Well, it's about nothing. That's the whole point of the show.
Yeah.
That's,
It
encompasses the whole show.
Oh yeah, it doesn't take away, but it's still like it's a nice relic.
Yeah.
Nice relic of the 90s. So, with that said, Brandon, do you have any more thoughts on this Oscar retrospective series, or are you ready to close out?
Nah, I'm probably all we had to say about 2007.
It's a good season.
Jodie actually got nominated for more, but that's about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's about the last, yeah.
At least for screenplay or direction, like something.
So yeah, something. That's their only mistake, though. I think that year they did a pretty good job, which is rare for the Oscars.
Yeah. Oh well. So with that said, Brandon, you still don't have any social media yet?
No, the YouTube channel's Lemon Bat, but I've got like 3 videos on there. Okay. So we may have more soon, but nah, not really.
All right, I'll still put a link in the description of this podcast, and you can find me on Twitter at MovieKale. You can also follow the podcast at Youth Critic, and you can also follow the channel that distributes this podcast at KHG Network. Thanks, everyone. We will be back with you. In terms of the retrospectives, we'll be back soon. I have a couple more ideas cooking up, but for now, we're just going back to the original regular podcast programming. So thanks, everyone. We'll be back with you. We'll be back with you on the retrospective side very soon.
Do you want to leave a message?
Yes.
If I don't come back, you tell Mother I love her.
Your mother's dead.
Well, then I'll tell her myself.
Got a loose cannon here.
You think this boy Moss has got any notion of the sorts that are hunting him?
I don't know, he ought to. He's seen the same things I've seen, and it certainly made an impression on me.
Just how dangerous is it?
Compared to what? The bubonic plague?
The crime you see now, it's hard to even take its measure. It's just all out war.
You can't stop what's coming.
What's this guy supposed to be, the ultimate badass?
You don't understand.
Call it.